Hi, my name is Prashant Chand. I'm the Chief Advisor of SL Entrepreneurs, which is a group company of Startup Lanes, which deals in startup consultancy, mentoring, and finally the startup funding. So we are having our first meetup, the launch meetup at Mumbai at a co-working space called WeWork at Raheja Towers in Marol, Andheri East.
For Startup Lane, please put your hands together. Thank you so much. I was wondering, WeWork, there is a sense to this because all along we've been looking at the difference between I work and we work. I as a company, I started a company 10 years back. I had 2 people. And then it grew up to be having 40 people, then I have 2 offices, and then I have 5 offices, and so on and so on and so on. So I all along. That has something to do with we. We is more about collaboration, we is more about togetherness, we is about scale, we is about the we power is all about how we collaborate, how we come together, how we find investors, how we do a great work and a larger work. In fact, we is an idea that when you have an idea, you have an idea of having 100 offices, you have an idea of having 7 offices in 7 countries, and so on so and so forth. So you come with a huge scale. And that happens only when it is we. And Startup Lane is all about the we power. This is the only platform over here where you can come as we and scale up as your thoughts go beyond horizon. So let us give one more round of applause to this to SL Enterprise, SL Group, because of this particular ecosystem that they brought together. And I am really glad that you all have come over here to be part of this ecosystem. It is, just to tell you in brief about what it is an ecosystem of startups. We have 4,000 registered startups with us. We have raised funds for over 100 startups. And we are growing rapidly in 40 cities and 7 countries. Please a huge round of applause for Startup Lanes, please. Thank you so much. If you are against the big guy, ignore the big guy. Just ignore it. I've added one more line over there. He cannot be bigger than your idea or a brand, serving your target audience needs and aspirations. Is that good? The big guy cannot be bigger than your idea. So your idea is the biggest idea ever that you have. Keep it on. Dr. Anirudh Malpani is a renowned personality in the startup ecosystem. He is on board member and angel investor at several startups, charter member TIE Mumbai, director at Solidarity Investment Advisory, founder, director at Malpani Ventures. Dr. Malpani has invested in visionary founders, disruptive companies such as All is Health and Free Speech. So I would welcome Dr. Anirudh Malpani over to him, but before that I have a small bouquet to be presented Prashant ji, please come over with the bouquet. And big round of applause to Dr. Manthani before I hand over the mic to him.
So, I think it's exciting. There's no question. India is booming, demographic, sweet spot, everything else. So, all of us have these great ideas. Isn't this the way you think of yourself? I'm sure if you're a woman, you think of yourself as Wonder Woman, perhaps, than Superman. But of course, this is what it is. So, I've got this great idea. I'm so passionate. No one's ever thought of it before. All I need is a little bit of money, and then, magic is going to happen. Makes sense? This is usually the way most first-time entrepreneurs think about doing a business. You have that great idea, that bulge you have actually got lit up. You have this business plan, you spend time reading books, preparing plans, getting a pitch. You find someone like me who gives you the money, you create a product, and in 10 years you're the next unicorn. Anything wrong with this equation, anyone? Makes sense, right? But this is what the problem is. Lots of people want money. No one is going to give you the money, trust me. And there's a reason for that. I'm sure if places were reversed, it always amazes me that people who not even ever spent 1 lakh of their own money in their own life are quite happy to ask an investor to put 50 lakhs based on a pitch. So I think you need to learn to be a little more empathetic when you're going around talking to investors and asking them for money. We're in the business of giving money, don't forget that. But you need to earn the right to win to ask for that money. And there are lots of people who would like that same limited pool of capital. Always remember that, it's a competitive world. This is usually then what happens to entrepreneurs, that, this is not working, I'm not from IIT, life is unfair, if I had gone to Stanford, if I was Ambani's son-in-law or daughter-in-law, depending on whatever you want, they have such a head start, they don't have a problem, I'm never going to become anything or anyone. But the reality is that's not true. There is always money available. And to expect, just a couple of things, guys, don't bother to take notes. I'm going to upload everything to SlideShare anyway, so all the information is available. This information is meant for people to use, don't worry about that. But I think there's lots of options. And initially, there's other ways of earning money. If you're working on a job, this is something you can moonlight on. You can always offer consultancy. And this is why bootstrapping is actually the most important way. Unfortunately, this is not a way which anyone talks about. And you know why? Because bootstrap founders don't spend money on press releases. They don't spend money on advertising the fact that they're running a successful startup which is generating them a lot of money. Who does the press releases? The VCs. They're the guys who have all the money, which is part of the reason why the entire narrative has got so badly distorted. I'm going to come to all of these, family and friends, but trust me, customer funding should be rule number 1. Multiple reasons again. Your customers are much more your friends than your investors will ever be, because they want your product, they like your product, they will help your product to become even better. So they play multiple roles. They will help you get more customers, because if your product has done a good job for them, they will refer other guys to use that same product. They will invest in your company in one sense. Crowdfunding, angels and VCs, and I put that pretty low, and ICOs. And I think this will also keep on changing. ICOs are, does anyone know what an ICO is? So instead of an IPO, which is an initial public offering, it's an initial coin offering. Again, it used to be fashionable, not very fashionable, all these things come. The point is, there will always be entrepreneurs who will look for money, but don't limit yourself to thinking that money only comes from investors. There are lots of other sources. I think this is an important slide, and I'm going to go back to this again. One more thing, all these slides come from a great book. I'll give you the title right at the end. And the reason I'm putting it at the end is to make sure people don't go to sleep and pay attention to what I'm saying. But the book is called Startup Funding Book. Great book. Before you reach out to anyone else, make sure you buy a copy so you know exactly what investors are looking for. And if you notice, there are 2 things here. One is the timeline on top. So you have the right to ask for money, but it depends on what stage you are. Is it just an idea? Have you created a team? You actually have a prototype? Have you actually launched in beta? You have users. Are you actually making money? That's revenue, okay? There's a big difference between revenue and profits. Tragically, lots of entrepreneurs don't understand the difference about revenue and profits. So I think there's lots of learning to be learned, and I'll come back to that again. So initially in the beginning, I think it's got to be bootstrapped. You have to trust in yourself. You have to have skin in the game. You have to prove to people that yes, this is what I believe in doing. Friends and family, again I'll come back to that, but honestly, if your friends and families aren't willing to trust you, why would you expect an investor whom you've never met to be able to trust you? So that's step number one. Where that comes from, I'll come back again. Grants, I think this is important, especially if you're doing something in biotech or healthcare. Investors are not the first port of call. The government has money and it's meant to utilize that money for the greater public good. That's an externality which investors can't necessarily fund because we need a quick return on our money. And there are lots of organizations like BIRAC which will do this. And the good thing is a lot of this stuff is easily available online. Accelerators and incubators, again, important role to play because they will teach you what a lot of entrepreneurs don't understand about the ecosystem. So well worth exploring. We then come to angels. I'll be talking a little more about that, about VCs. But you know, it's interesting. The first thing people think of is, हाँ पैसा चाहिए, बैंक में जाके बैंक मैनेजर से बात करो. Bank managers are not good sources of funding. I'm sorry, Citibank is here, and hopefully their presentation will give us some slightly different perspective. I'm going to give you guys a chance to do that. But the trouble is, bank managers have still been very conventional. Investors are willing to take a leap of faith. They're willing to say, yes, 3 years from now, this is what it's going to be. That's not the way bank managers are incentivized, because if they give money that way and the startup goes belly up, it becomes an NPA and then that reflects on their balance sheet, not very good for them. So they will give you money only if you have hard assets. If you have a 3-year track record, that's the conventional way. Unfortunately, most startups don't meet that requirement until you actually got to the later stage. Crowdfunding is extremely interesting, and again, there are 3 ways of doing it. What does the reward crowdfunding mean? Hey, I've got this great idea. I'm going to put this up, and if you give me the money now, once this product is ready, I'll give it to you at a 50% discount. Great way of doing it. There's a platform available. But this is a great validation that there are people who want your product. I think it's just tragic that it's so underutilized these days. That's the reward piece. The equity piece, again, in certain countries it's allowed. I'm not sure how it works in India. There's lots of gray zone areas. But what equity means is that instead of getting a large amount of money from one investor, you get lots of little bits of money from lots of investors. But crowdfunding also involves lending, which means people will say, hey, I think that's a great idea. I'm happy to give you money, provided I get my money back with a certain degree of interest. Lots of interesting models. Why bootstrapping and why the emphasis on bootstrapping? There are lots of great books written on bootstrapping and lots of success stories actually start this way, whoever it is. For example, you might want to read Shoe Dog by the Nike founder, which actually explains how he started. Most important, it shows the investor that yes, you're capable of doing things, you're capable of actually executing and implementing. And that's the biggest risk from our point of view. Everyone has great pitch decks, everyone has great ideas, everyone is passionate, but what have you done to move yourself forward? Again, the big problem is that people say, but paisa nahi hai, the customers kahan se aayenge? And if you're the guy who thinks you can't do anything without money, you're the kind of guy whom investors will not give money to. We want to see what you're capable of doing without money, so that when we give you money, you're able to convert that money and grow exponentially. So really, this is up to you. Again, lots of books on this. Just Google guerrilla marketing. And the basic secret is delight your initial customers. And if your customers are happy with you, they become your brand ambassadors or evangelists, everything else will happen. And again, I always say customers come before investors, not just on the deck, but in the dictionary as well. Once you have paying customers, investors will line up and they'll be more than happy to give you money. I think this is again an interesting slide. A lot of people, when they talk about funding, usually think as VCs and angel investors. The trouble is these are the guys who get all the press. But the reality is that most of it is actually coming from bootstrapping and lots of it is still coming from family and friends. But got to be careful, and again, when I put a post on LinkedIn saying this, but no one is rich, we don't have enough money, and I find that hard to believe. Maybe your family doesn't have money, but the school you went to, maybe there's a friend who's got a rich uncle who will be happy to put in a good word for you. So please utilize those contacts, and all of us have large circles, whether it's the temple you go to, whether it's the church you go to, whether it's networking events or whatever else. But you've got to be really careful, because lots of family and friends don't understand The moment you talk about startups, and obviously because you want their money, you're in sell mode. So yeah, I have many idea the next Paytm banne wali hai. You know, imagine if you'd back Vijay Shekhar Sharma 10 years ago, how much money you had. So come and back me now. So the problem is that's not true. So be careful about whom you take the money from. And definitely don't take money from people who can't afford to lose it. Because the reality is that most startups are going to fail. That's a fact of life, and we'll come back to that. And don't take money and say, okay fine, I'll give you 50% of my company just because you're so desperate to get any amount of money. Because that's always going to remain on your cap table, and that will come back to haunt you later. This again is a huge reason for misunderstanding between entrepreneurs and investors. You know, I have 10 brilliant ideas every day in the morning. But that doesn't mean that just because I have a brilliant idea, anyone's going to give me money for it. It's the implementation which is important. Two things. Ideas are really, really common, but don't fall in love with them. Because only after 2 years you realize that your first idea was such a crappy idea, you'll actually be ashamed about the fact that you have an idea. And that's fine too. But lots of ideas will mean that your ideas will keep on incrementally improving. The big elephant in the room is, अरे यार मैं मेरे इन्वेस्टर को आइडिया दूंगा तो उसका भांजा है, वो भांजा स्टैनफोर्ड से आया है. He will give the idea to his nephew, and that nephew will take away my idea and then create a startup. If your idea is really that easy to replicate, then you know maybe it's not such a good idea to actually do a startup around that idea, because the moment you go to market, there will be 50 people to compete with you. Please come from a sense of abundance. Don't come from a sense of paranoia. I'm going to protect it. I'm not going to share my idea with anyone else. Don't share your idea with anyone else. We didn't come and ask you to pitch to us for money. So if you want to keep your ideas, feel free. But I can guarantee you that's the road to failure. And then after 10 years, maybe after 25 years, you tell your children and your grandchildren, अरे यार वो फ्लिपकार्ट की आइडिया मेरे पास भी आई थी. हाँ ठीक है यार, हमारे पास सबकी आई थी. तुमने किया क्या उसके बाद? This is the way most entrepreneurs think about investors, right? Fat cats, lots of money, just out to sign checks. And the reality is finding investors is simple. It's not easy. There's a big difference, and people confuse the two things. I think it's easily possible today. You know, people are quite okay with sending emails, provided you know how to craft your email well. Please don't spam investors, and please don't do dear sir/madam emails. No one is going to bother to reply to them, and then when you don't get replies, you blame investors that we're not interested in replies. Again, LinkedIn is a great way. Warm introductions are easily the best way. And given the fact that most people are just 6 degrees of contact away, you will, if you're willing to be persistent enough, find out. I'm going to explain to you how you're going to be able to do some of this. The trick is, you've got to get them to come to you. So what is your edge? What is your strength? What is the one thing which you know so much about that no one else in the world knows? Or what everyone else knows is wrong? What counterintuitive insight do you have? And if you can position yourself as a thought leader, people will come and say, hey, that's interesting. Could you tell me more? And always remember one thing. This is again, yeah, I'll go make a pitch. The guy will get blown away and he'll sign me a check. Doesn't happen, boss. We also earn our money the hard way. No one is going to be so liberal signing checks. We will sign checks, but there's a process we follow. There's a reason we follow the process. So all that first point of contact will give you permission. Okay, come back and talk to us, come back and talk to us, and let's see if we can make sure that we can trust you. I think this is really important, because the problem is that people don't bother. So then you'll send emails to Sequoia, Matrix, every angel investor. You'll scrape the LinkedIn database. Anyone who has invested in their profile now school email bhejne wala. Just doesn't work that way. So you've got to make sure that investors are relevant to you. So if you're going to come and pitch to me and say you're raising $10 million, you're wasting your time and you're wasting my time. I have a particular check size, but we're happy to be open and transparent about what it is. It's all that information on our website. Our thesis is on our website, and that's true for most investing firms. So do your homework, make sure that it makes sense for that particular investor, because then your chances of getting a yes are much higher. And then once you identify which investors are right for you, everyone is not right for you, I can guarantee you that. You then need to contact those investors. The right way is get a warm introduction, and then please be very specific. I get about 200 emails a day. And some of them, and that's sometimes my worry, is that some of them may be relevant to me, but they end up in the trash can, or they end up in junk, or I overlook them, or I miss them. And I'm sure that does happen. But that's not just my fault. It also depends on how well you've taken the time and trouble to craft that email, so that all you can do in that first email is spark my interest, my curiosity. That sounds interesting. Why don't I at least talk to this guy and find out more? Again, please be a little empathetic when you talk to investors. We know entrepreneurs are extremely busy. We're extremely busy too. The first response is no. Can anyone tell me why our first response is no? We want to sign checks, right? We want to back the next Tesla. Yet our first response is no.
We want to see that how Ted Brewer is the person who's asking you for the...
Okay, so that how does he respond to your no? Does he just flop over and say, okay, theek hai, or is he willing to be persistent? Good point. What else?
If somebody will not get their way when an investor says no, what is he going to do when the customer says no?
Perfect. Excellent. So that's the attitude, personality, DNA, culture. That's number one. What's the other reason?
Establishing trust is not so easy in the first tranche. So you keep on talking, keep on discussing, maybe change a little bit, and then probably that goes through as well.
So I think good point again. My limited point is it's much easier for me to say no, because the moment I say yes, I am then tied in. I then have to look at the tech, look at the financials, do my due diligence, and I have limited bandwidth. And I already have 15 companies whom I need to handle, make sure they're sending me their updates on a regular time. Lots of 50 different things happening. And the more the balls I juggle in the air, the greater the probability that one of those balls is going to fall. And therefore, I'm going to be very picky and choosy about who I'm going to let in. And therefore, it's just much easier to say no. And if I say no and the guy doesn't get that, good, mera kaam aur product kaam ho gaya, so it doesn't really matter. So effectively, it's also up to you as an entrepreneur to remember that the no actually means a not yet. You don't have to get aggressive about it. You don't have to insult investors on LinkedIn, saying all these investors just talk big, but when you send emails, they don't bother to reply to emails, or they just say no. Guys, please remember we are on your side. So, but you need to be persistent and patient, and if it doesn't fit, then it doesn't fit. There's not just one investor, just like there are 1,000 entrepreneurs, there are 1,000 investors. Learn from that no, and then move on and find someone else. Startup accelerators are very helpful because you're working. The interesting thing is you will learn a lot more, not from the accelerator, but as you quite correctly said, from the other entrepreneurs. Because some entrepreneurs are starting off, some are much more mature, they've burned their fingers, and they will often not say all this stuff in public, but over drinks they will say, "Arey yaar, this guy is a crook, this guy is a parasite, this guy is a cheat," and you will only find that when you hang out with other entrepreneurs. Incubators and accelerators offer you that kind of ecosystem. They allow you access, open up networks, and at least in some accelerators, for example, Y Combinator or Techstars or whatever, just the fact that you've been selected, it's like getting into IIT. It's not that IIT kids are any smarter or dumber as compared to anyone else. It's just a signaling mechanism that this guy has worked hard enough and was motivated enough to get into IIT. And exactly the same things apply. This guy took the time and trouble, and amongst a cohort of 1,000 people, he was one of the 10 who was selected. And therefore, उसने कुछ तो दम होगा. That's the reason, and that's the signal we're looking for. So pitching, this is something which everyone needs to do, and you need to get better at it. But lots of people don't do it well. And again, it's not rocket science. Don't try to do a data dump. Don't try to show me all the 50 different things. We really shouldn't require more than 8 or 9 slides to be able to do it. The important thing is to get a conversation going. The important thing is to get the investor want to find out more about what you're doing. And you can't possibly do that in a day, so don't even try. But this is really more than enough. What the purpose of your company is. What problem are you solving? What is your customer pain point? And why are you the right solution? And why you should do it? And this is what people are looking for. How much you can potentially go through. One thing I will say, if you look at the product, the team, all the good stuff, but the financials, it's interesting. We always ask for financials, but we don't trust any of them. I mean, obviously, and if you look at your own financials 2 years down the road, you'll say, what an idiot I was, which is also fine. No, we want to see your ability to be able to make sense of those financials. Amazingly, lots of entrepreneurs are techies and they take pride in the fact that they don't understand what EBITDA is and what free cash flow is. Boss, if you don't understand, don't expect me to give you my hard-earned money. Because if you haven't taken the time and trouble to understand just these simple concepts, what makes me think that you're going to be able to handle my money? A lot of these are red flags. Again, I'm not trying to say to spare you. I didn't understand any of this stuff either. But it's possible to learn a lot of this stuff. And if you're serious about running a business, you need to be able to understand these things. No excuses, no shortcuts. Lots of common mistakes. The first thing is we want an NDA. Do you know what an NDA is? Sorry?
Non-disclosure.
The first thing, such a bright idea, I don't want you to be sharing it with your nephew, and therefore that's the first thing. But if I started signing NDAs, I would never be able to invest in anyone, because typically there is one area which is hot. Everyone wants to do cloud kitchens. Everyone wants to do blockchain. Everyone wants to do whatever happens to be in fashion. And the moment I sign an NDA, trust me, all the pictures look exactly like one another. I'll never be able to move on. So this is not going to work. In a way, I'm happy when people ask for an NDA. I don't have to waste my time on this guy. I can just move on to someone to a more mature guy. Who's not paying attention here? Back rows. Backbenchers never pay attention. There's only one lady there. You want to stand up? I want you to stand up, man. Do you know what a DCF is? Okay, great. You are paying attention. Sorry. No, but again, I'm just pulling your leg. This is a big problem because how do you know how much to ask for? So what do? You go to your friendly chartered accountant. Chartered accountant startup के बारे में क्या समझता है? कुछ नहीं समझता है. हाँ तो Excel spreadsheet तो कोई भी बना सकता है, कोई भी डाल सकता है. Okay, one more question. Even the green is better. Why are discounted cash flows useless for startups?
I'm not the right person to
Okay.
ask this question.
All right. Yes.
This is based on future projections which might not turn out to be true.
Perfect. So the biggest component in the DCF is what is called terminal value. And the terminal value for a startup is a pure figment of your imagination, and I can make that terminal value whatever I like. So, please, again, if you do it, I'm quite happy for you to do that, because obviously then your valuation is going to be $100 million. So, and none of this stuff ever really works out. Please don't try to bluff. You are the domain expert. I don't know enough about your domain. I grant you all that. But it's quite likely that I've seen a similar pitch deck from someone else and evaluated that guy and figured out why I'm not giving him money. So if you're going to try to BS me, that's not a great way of creating trust. If I ask you a question, you don't know the answer, I'm perfectly okay with that. And say, look, I'll find out the answer or I'll come back to you. Or I'm taking a leap of it. All that's fine. The number of wannabe entrepreneurs to the number of real-life entrepreneurs is honestly 100 to 1. Everyone wants to be an entrepreneur at some point in their life. And that's fine too, if that's what you want to be, it's a cool thing to say. But if you're not willing to put in the hard work, you don't want to be. So, these are some of the red flags that make it easy for me to say no to pitches. You only have an idea and you haven't bothered to implement it, and then you're asking for a valuation. I'm not the right guy. You show these hockey stick curves, I'm not saying hockey stick curves don't come true in life, but 99% of the time they don't. We understand that. If you say things like, why do I worry when someone says no competition?
Because there is always a competition.
Yeah, but this is such a great idea, no one's ever done it before, no competition. No competition only means two things. What does it mean?
No competition means nothing is, there is no market for it.
Perfect. Perfect.
I'm very confident.
It's an overconfidence.
And the fact that you've not bothered to do your homework. Because you're absolutely right, that customer's pain point is being solved in some way. What way it is, whether it's a terrible way, whether it's a workaround, whether all that is fine. So that again is a red flag. The other red flags are revolutionary, visionary, disruptive. First, words mean nothing as far as I'm concerned. So it's far better to under-promise rather than use all these fancy words and be much more realistic. No skin in the game, as I explained. Oh, but I don't have any money. If why do you expect me to give you anything? Figure out what you've done. I'm not saying it needs to be a lot, but even if you told me that yes, whatever your life, if you put in 1 lakh of your own money, then your right to ask me to put in 50 lakhs is actually much more. If you put in nothing, then I think you should hesitate. And you know, we all use buzzwords, and the good thing about these buzzwords is they keep on changing, and that's fine. It's not very hard for me to figure out he's using AI/ML because he's done a Coursera course, and therefore he thinks he's an AI/ML expert, or whether he actually knows it or nahi samajhta hai, then it's okay, don't pretend unnecessarily. What do you think this slide represents? Yeah, yes.
So I think it showcases how important probably the founder is.
So what do you think this guy's doing?
He is scrutinizing him as an individual, and because a part of the money that he's going to put in, I think for an investor, the founder also, and the team.
It's the only thing, right? You're right. So this is what we call the due diligence. You know, the worry which people have. People are scared about this. Again, there's a process for the due diligence, and sometimes entrepreneurs are at a disadvantage because investors do this all the time on a regular basis, and for an entrepreneur, it's often the first time. So talk to friends, talk to people who've done this before. All of it is negotiable. There is nothing which is written in stone. If someone makes you an offer, it's perfectly okay to make a counter offer. There will be a checklist. Even if you don't get the money, the checklist is a good exercise for you because if nothing else, it will help you clean up your act. And like someone said, there's so many red flags which you may not even be aware of because you've got your head right in the pitch, just trying to make ends meet. Whereas you've not registered your company, that this is not right, you don't have a co-founder agreement, 50 different things, so that's right. And finally, when everything goes well, you get a term sheet. This is going to depend on what your market is. Your definition may vary from the investors. What your business model is. How are you going to create value for the customer, and how are you going to extract that value from the customer? That's all the business model is. The team, which is actually the most important thing, because at that early stage, the only thing we can go on. And again, team, I don't care about your academic pedigree or whatever else. By the time you finish, it's really become irrelevant as far as I'm concerned. And I always tell people, far more important than an MBA is what I call a PCF, or a positive cash flow. Because once you've got that positive cash flow, I honestly don't care about anything else. People say, "Hey, you're a baniya investor." Of course, all investors are baniya investors. You want the money, and we want to give you the money because you're going to multiply. And if you can't inspire that confidence, you're going to have hard times. And whatever your progress and your traction is. And again, it doesn't matter if you've not done much. You can say, "Hey, this is what it is. I'll come back to you after 3 months. I'll come back to you after 6 months." And then after the end of 6 months, you can say, "Hey, this is where I started off with. They didn't give me any money. This is where I am now 6 months down the road." Oh, great, wow, this guy's really been able to manage stuff. He's been able to learn a lot on his own dime. Therefore, he's earned the right for me to give him the dollar which I'm giving. With funding, as I said, this negotiation, valuation is an endless game. There is no science behind the valuation. The problem with the valuation game is you will only hear about all these newspaper articles where some fancy entrepreneur raises $100 million. And then, अरे यार उसने $100 million raise किया, मेरी टीम में तो 5 IIT के बच्चे हैं, उसमें तो एक ही IIT का बच्चा है. So of course I should be worth $500 million. It might sound funny, but actually the Housing.com team actually used this logic when they went out to raise money. So that's fine, whatever you want. Control. Again, big worry. Oh God, this investor will come, he wants my shares, I'm selling my company to him. He'll take over my company and he'll put his uncle or chacha or whatever else as the CEO. Boss, we have enough problems as it is in our life. We have no desire to become entrepreneurs or micromanage your company or run your company. If you're running your company well, that's all I really want you to do. We're not interested in controlling it. And our preferred option, again, all this stuff is on our website, the CCF, or CCPS. And again, I'm deliberately using acronyms. Honestly, if you're pitching and you don't understand these acronyms, that in itself is a red flag. There's lots of homework you need to do. If I have to sit and explain stuff to an entrepreneur, it's very easy for me to say to myself, this guy hasn't even bothered to do his homework about all this stuff. I'm happy to teach, but I'm not happy to spoon feed. So figure it out for yourself and then come back and talk. Don't find an uncle of yours who happens to be a lawyer and do this for you. Never works well. Find a lawyer, and when I say a startup-friendly lawyer, this is usually a lawyer who's done deals before for startups and is willing to give you a discount because he's hoping that you will then continue to grow. So once you raise your Series A, Series B, you will then be able to pay him a lot more. And lots of these lawyers now exist. Sorry, slightly busy slide. but just to explain to you that every time you raise money, you're then on an endless treadmill. You will mostly need to keep on raising money, and every time you raise money, you will have to keep on diluting yourself. So that often, once you go on down this path, it sounds like a very attractive path. This is the only part which newspaper reports and CNBC and Your Story and stuff talk about, because that's where all the big $1 billion are. But you may end up with a very large company with a very small slice of it. So that actually someone who chose to bootstrap, and there are enough bootstrap success stories like Zoho, will actually end up with a much larger chunk. So the total value may be less, but because he owns a lot more, and guess what? He's not answerable to an outside investor. So he is in control of his life. And I always remind entrepreneurs, you did this because you got fed up of working in a job. You wanted financial freedom. What kind of financial freedom is when you then have an investor on your cap table who's then breathing down your throat, saying, "Arey yaar, last year tujhe bola tha tu ye karega, you've not been able to manage." There may be a very good reason why you've not been able to manage, and you understand that. Your investors will not always be that challenge. So again, this is very confusing. And I was having this conversation about why investors invest money as angels. And obviously you want to do it because you want to identify the next Facebook and become a billionaire in your dreams. That's not going to happen. And let me tell you one thing straight away. I'm realistic enough to understand that if VCs have such a low hit rate, and if 90% of the money which they put in startups goes belly up, what makes me any smarter than them? Most probably dumber than them. So most probably I expect my startup hit rate to be 0%. And I honestly expect all the money I put in my startups and to go down the drain. Now let me explain that again. I think the important thing is to use the right metric for every asset class. So when you look at an insurance policy, you should not measure how much money will I make on the insurance policy, because when you put money in an insurance policy, it's buying you peace of mind. So you can't put a metric, and these are different buckets. So the reason why angel investors put money in startups is actually for non-financial or for emotional reasons. I love this founder. I love what he's doing. I love his optimism. I want to find out more. So as far as I'm concerned, in my asset allocation bucket, where I want to make money is in the listed space. So my family office invests in listed space in companies like Titan, where you make enough money, so that's passive income. And then you deploy that money into startups, so that even if that money goes down the drain, I haven't lost any sleep over it. I haven't put any undue pressure on the entrepreneur, because I know a lot of these will, and I can be charitable about it. As long as he's followed the process properly, as long as his attitude is being good enough, I'm not going to hold him answerable to the outcome. And in that sense, because it's money I can afford to lose, I'm not going to put unrealistic pressure. So, for our own benefit, all of that is true. I don't know about having fun. It's really not fun. Because typically what happens is the good entrepreneurs are doing well, they don't need anything more from you. So they're managing quite well. It's all the bad guys, the zombies, the ones who aren't doing well. They will not send you their statements, they will not send you how much money they're losing, they will not bother to reach out until they want to raise the next round of money, because they've run out of money, and then they really piss you off. Avoid boredom again. I'm not saying, the reason I put up this slide is to let you know angel investors come in all sizes and shapes. Everyone does it for different reasons. You just need to find the right match. Something interesting to talk about at parties, just like it's very cool to be an entrepreneur on your LinkedIn profile. Everyone these days is a CEO/founder of something or the other. It's very cool at cocktail parties to say, hey, you know what, I'm an angel investor, because there's a buzz around it, and often some people do that. Be careful. The question you need to ask is, when did you sign your last check? And can I talk to the other founders you put money for? For your benefit, and I think that's true, जब बाल पक जाते हैं, at some point you say, okay, I've seen enough in life. What can I do for the next generation? I don't have that ambition or that burning need to do it, but can I help the other person to be able to do a better job? And like Shishir was saying, he had certain problems he encountered during his journey. What can we do to help other entrepreneurs not encounter them? And for the benefit of the world, this is an important thing. We all talk about legacy issues. What do we want to be remembered for when you're dead and gone? And that's the reason we want to create an impact. So whom do I fund? And the first thing was fall in love with the team. Sounds stupid, right? But that's the reality, because all these startups are going to keep on pivoting, evolving, whatever else. But if you trust that this founder is a good guy, he's got integrity, he's willing to learn, he's willing to teach, everything else is fine. Again, non-financial reasons. The ROI, the return on investment, we all start it out on our spreadsheets. None of it ever happens. So people ask me, what are your success stories? So I said, if you measure my success stories by financial ROI, I have 0 stories. If you measure my success stories by how much I've learned from my founders, because they knew a lot in that fintech domain or edutech domain or whatever else it is, I'm more than happy. Which is why I continue signing checks, because I continue learning a lot about the world. The 3 things we look for is integrity, because if you find a crooked founder, you might as well just say bye-bye to your money. Reality is it's very hard to be able to judge integrity, and that's why it takes such a long time and such a long process. Curiosity, because the world is going to keep on changing. What he set out to do, 2 years from now, again the world will change. Is he able to adapt because he's curious? And is he humble? Is he willing to say, yes, I made a mistake? Is he willing to learn from me? Because I don't understand about his domain, but there are other things I understand about, like corporate governance or unit economics, or how to innovate to be able to do that. So I want someone who's willing to teach and willing to learn. And at the end of the day, if someone has paid customers, it typically is being able to sort out a lot of the other problems. So then I can just take a shortcut and skip a lot of the other steps. How much time do we have? Are we running out of time?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, okay. So I think about 10 minutes more. And
Yeah.
hopefully we have some time for questions and answers. I think this is important. Not all money is the same. There is a difference. Obviously, every investor thinks my money is smart money. And I'm sure most of the time that's not true. But if you do want someone's money, then it's a good idea to humor him, tell him how it is. Before you take money from anyone, remember, money is expensive. You raise money from a bank, everyone understands that's expensive because you have to pay interest on that. Equity is actually much more expensive. You don't have to pay it upfront, but it's a long term. It will turn out to be, so be careful about this. Please treat the money with respect. Even if you take money from your dad, or your mom or whatever else, or you treat your girlfriend to a date, you treat that money with respect. Now just because you added 3 zeros to it and just because you think an angel investor is made of money, doesn't mean हमारा पैसा कोई ऊपर से टपकता है. It's equally hard-earned money, so treat it with the same degree of respect you would anyone else's. And I think this is an important slide. This is the way both entrepreneurs and investors need to think of each other. There is trust, there is respect. This is a long-term relationship. Your startup's going to take at least 10. In India, it could very well be 15 years for anything to play out. So this has got to be someone you're happy not to sleep with, but at least happy to spend time with, happy to be able to engage with. You look forward to having those conversations with these guys. So be picky and choosy. So some more pearls of wisdom. Again, when you have an investor, the first thing the investor asks you is how much return I get. Red flag. This investor doesn't know what he's talking about. And if he doesn't respect you and doesn't respect your time and calls you at 11 o'clock and doesn't bother to see you at 12, I think take his money if what you want to, but that's usually a signal that this guy is not going to be a great priority. The trick is to get investors. We're happy signing checks, but we don't want someone to be able to push us into doing that. We want to be doing it voluntarily. How do we do that? And it's okay if they say no, but at least ask them. But again, if you send a crappy deck and then you ask me why did I reject you, I don't have the time or the energy or the bandwidth to really reply to that email as well. But if you do it well, I'm happy to have a conversation. And again, learn to negotiate. There are no right answers with some of these things. You need to make a decision which you are happy with for the future. Again, this is a big problem in the startup ecosystem. So-and-so raised $100 million. What's the big deal about that? If tomorrow a bank gives me 100 crores and I raise it as a loan, how does that mean anything? Nothing. It's actually a part of a liability. And whether it's a loan or whether it's equity, it doesn't come on the asset side of your balance sheet. Please remember that. It's still on the other side, the wrong side of your balance sheet. So just because you got funding, good for you, congratulate yourself. But the hard work actually starts there. I think the only validation is, and all these 3 things are important. Repeat. The guy keeps on coming back to you. Pilots don't count. So if you tell me I've got 100,000 installs of my free app on Google Play Store, good for you. Doesn't mean anything as far as I'm concerned. So they should be paying. And satisfied in the sense these guys should be ambassadors and evangelists and willing to send their friends to you. All those three things, and I'm really excited. All these vanity metrics like EBITDA. Does anyone know what the WeWork vanity metric is? Community adjusted EBITDA? No one's heard of that? So again, people can get creative, and none of this is new. I'm an old man now, but we heard a lot of this stuff in the dot-com boom days. And everyone said, अरे यार ये लोग को कुछ समझता नहीं है, हम future की बात कर रहे हैं, तो अभी पैसे नहीं है तो future में तो आ जाएंगे. So we heard a lot of this stuff. If we say no, please don't take it personally. We have nothing against you. मैं कोई तेरा दुश्मन थोड़ी हूँ. You know, what do I have against you? Nothing at all. But there are reasons perhaps why I said no. Respect those. Big problem. Everyone just wants to compare themselves with the top 0.0001%. You know, go ahead. That should be your aspiration. Nothing wrong with that. But there are also the outliers. And I'll tell you one thing straight away. The stories which you read about them in the press are highly distorted stories. All these guys have come so close to failing and nearly shutting down at least 3 or 4 times in their career. They won't tell you about all this stuff because you know all of us want to polish things afterwards, but they've all spent sleepless nights. And again, investors are optional. And this is again something people don't understand. The best time to reach out to an investor is when you don't need him. Because then that way you have the bargaining power, you have the ability to be able to negotiate on your terms. Big difference between angels and VCs. Please don't confuse the two. With angels, it's all personal money. And again, that's what I meant about, you know, there will be an angel who will only sign one check in all his life. Because he's a real estate guy, there's someone who has a very real estate career, whatever the reason. Find out, interview their founders. I always tell people, there's only one person I need to answer to when I invest my money, and that's my wife. And my wife has been married long enough that, you know, कल जो पैसा डूबेगा भी तो वो मुझको छोड़ के नहीं जाने वाली है. I'm not answerable to anyone else. I can pick and choose and make stupid or what appear to be stupid decisions for the rest of the world. VCs can't do that. They have a lot of constraints. You know, the problem is you think, hey, VC get $1 billion there, but the reality is that $1 billion is that VC has come with lots of terms and conditions. It's just like a Citibank loan officer, right? Citibank may have $1 billion, but they can't just sign checks and say, oh yeah, I like the suit this guy is wearing, here is the $1 million check. They have a process they need to follow because it's not their personal money. They're answerable to someone else to make sure they give the money to the right people, and that's true for VCs. So it's all decision by investment committee, which is why it's a complicated, long process. So what are VCs looking for? Again, this is a slide from the book Startup Funding. You know, honestly, if you do nothing else, and at the end of my talk, buy the book, I will be more than happy. Because honestly, 50% of what I tell you, you're going to forget. That's the nature of the beast. Or you will selectively remember some stuff, you will selectively remember half of it. The book will remind you this all over again, and you can reread the book, you can share it with your co-founders. The book title is coming up, don't worry about it. But so this is what VCs are looking for. A huge market, a scalable business, and a much better product. What they call it the next product. That's what VCs are looking for. And if you can't fulfill this, maybe you shouldn't be going to VCs in the first place because they may not be the right investors. Again, complicated slide, but just to emphasize the fact that because there's a process which needs to be followed, it takes time. This is a big problem. It can take anywhere from 3 to 9 months to actually raise money. So if you find out, अरे यार मेरे पास पैसे नहीं है क्या करूँ मैं pitch करूँगा, and that's when you think you're going to be able to raise money, forget it. The right time to raise money is when you have a runway for at least 3 to 9 months because that gives you enough breathing space to be able to do it. So again, we get lots of these deals, we screen them, we do our due diligence. The VC has to then present it to someone else. I don't need to worry about that. You then have a term sheet and then you close this, and all of it because it's such a long process. So typically, as they say, they get about 1,000 contacts per year, of which they'll invest in about 3 or 4. Huge drop-off and huge attrition. So these are some more personal truths I'd like to share with you before I stop. All of them are true. Most startups fail, and that's fine. No one knows in advance which startup is going to fail, and all the ones you've written off and you think I'm going to go belly up, after 3 months come up and say, hey, guess what? I just signed a deal with Coca-Cola, and now I'm making tons of money. Good for you. They always unpleasant surprises, but to compensate for that, there are always pleasant surprises. At the end of the day, it is a numbers game, and once you raise money from investors, trust me, you will keep on raising money all the time. So only if you're willing to sign up for that, of course you will get better at raising money as time goes by, nothing wrong with that again. But if that's what your model is, I think that's fine. Be prepared to fail. Shishi was extremely honest. All of us have failed. We don't like dwelling on our failures, but honestly, I always tell the entrepreneurs who cheated me, the entrepreneurs who have taken my money and not done anything about it, are the ones who taught me a lot more than all the other entrepreneurs put together, because they make me much more careful about who I'm going to give my money to. It's a great journey, no matter what happens, whether you shut down in 2 years, 5 years, or whatever else. I think it teaches you a lot about yourself. It teaches you a lot about the world, because you have to know everything. You have to know business, law, economics, bankers, pitching, customers, employees, HR, everything. I mean, all of business is really a microcosm of what the real world is. So you go and learn a lot about yourself and the real world. That's what I enjoy about being an angel investor. The good thing is I don't have to do the dirty work. I can pick and choose. As an entrepreneur, don't look at it as dirty work. If you say, I'm going to learn and therefore become smarter, you know what? After 3 years, even if you shut down and go back to a corporate job, a good corporate employer will respect you for the fact that you've actually been a failed entrepreneur. And I think that's going to become much more valuable on a corporate resume in the next 3 or 4 years, when people understand that entrepreneurs are guys who take ownership. What does a corporate want? You want an employee who will take ownership of a problem, who will say, yes, leave this with me, I will find a solution. An entrepreneur has actually done that. And I think that's really a sellable trait. It's up to you to be able to position. You don't have to be apologetic about the fact you failed. Emphasize the fact, this is what I did and this is what I learned during that journey. So people should be happy to have it. This is true. No one's going to, people will only tell you that when they're drunk. You know, God, I wish I hadn't become an entrepreneur. What an idiot I was. My friend is now CFO at, whatever else. He earns so much, he takes his kids out on a foreign holiday. I'm kind of stuck. Mushkil se Lonavala jaane ko milta hai. All that stuff, whatever else it is. But it is hard. But you need to be able to sell to your family. You're going to be in sell mode all the time. It's not just selling to your investors. You sell to your customers, you sell to your parents, you sell to your spouse, all these things. And you need to find support. And the best way to find support is by other founders. Because they've been there, done that, maybe they've successfully exited, maybe they're doing a corporate job now, but these are guys who will let you ask questions. Again, a lot of confusion, and I think part of the tragedy with this startup ecosystem is there are lots of parasites. Everyone calls themselves, "Kya lagta hai mentor bulane ke liye? Yeah, maybe mentor do." I tell everyone, I don't mentor anyone except the guys I invest in. And amongst the guys I invest in, most of them don't even want my mentorship. Which is also fine, you can't add value. You can't force someone to be a mentor, you can't force someone to be a mentor. But if anyone charges money, they are not a mentor. That's fine, perfectly okay to charge money if you're giving advice. But then you're either a coach, you're a consultant, you're a business advisor, or whatever else. Because by definition, mentorship is not done. There are incubators, accelerators, but again, be picky and choosy, because there will be lots of guys who are parasites in the ecosystem, don't add value. But a simple thing which I think every guy should do is set up an advisory board. And who should be on your advisory board? Your customers. Your customers will be tickled pink that, hey, you're actually asking them for advice about what can I do to improve my product. They won't charge you an arm and a leg. All you need to do is create nice visiting cards, take them out for dinner perhaps once every 3 months or whatever you want. They will give you such valuable insights. It doesn't cost anything at all. Think about it. These are simple hacks, zero cost hacks you can use in order to make sure that you have a product which is adding value. Again, this is important. It doesn't really matter whatever you know. Because honestly, by the time you graduated, half the stuff they taught you has become obsolete anyway. And I always tell people, when you join medical college, half of what they teach you in medical college is going to be wrong. But the trouble is that professors don't know which half is yet. And that's also fine. As long as you're willing to be a learning machine, you'll be fine. And I think when people graduate, rather than get an MD or a CA or a BTech or whatever else, this is the license plate they should get. That yes, you now got the ability to learn. That's what we've taught you. We've taught you how to learn for yourself rather than depend on sitting in lectures and listening to stuff from others. So what do you need to learn? The only thing you need to learn is how to sell. Everything else is selling. But to order to sell, you need to learn how to tell stories. If you're a good storyteller, you engage with people's reptilian brain, their emotional brain. It's much easier for them to convince them to use their rational brain to be able to get. Again, standard stuff, get your hands dirty, be patient, all these things take time. Overnight success stories actually took 10 years. But you don't hear about those 9 years where they were slopping away. And the best way to learn is to work in a startup. Often, that way you're learning on someone else's time. Someone else has done all the dirty work. And then especially if you're an early hire, then your ability to be able to, because there's so much stuff you're going to be able to do. Anything you want to do, they'll be happy to give you. Because they don't have enough warm bodies. And if you want to say, yes, I'm willing to take responsibility. So the sweet spot is usually someone who's raised some money and has about 10 to 20 employees. Because there's the beginning of a structure. They don't have to worry about raising money for at least 1 year. And there is something complete where you can add value. Lots of these books, again, we have a website called startupmentors.in. All these books are listed there. And don't get fussed about which particular books I suggest. It really doesn't matter. The information is going to be the same. Whatever works for you. Please take advantage of them. There's so much information. I think books are the best mentors available. They charge you so little. You can pick and choose what you want to learn. You can read 5 different books for 5 different perspectives. You know, the trouble with a mentor is if he tells you something and you choose to ignore his advice because actually the guy was an idiot and didn't know enough about the domain and gave you bad advice, you can't go back to him again because he'll take offense. अरे यार मैंने बोला तूने सुना नहीं तू अभी मेरे पास क्यों आ रहा है? Books are much more forgiving and charitable. They allow you to do what you want. This will happen and that's fine. It's not the end of the world. You know, the more often you fail, that's fine. But just make sure that you can fail frugally so you can bounce back. Okay, that's me. Again, please respect my preferences. I'm happy to answer questions by email. You know, happy to connect on LinkedIn. Please don't mobile me, for heaven's sake. And again, I apologize. Boy, high time I changed my visiting card. I think BSNL has shut down, hasn't it? Yes, I apologize. But you know what? Maybe I should take off this thing and just leave the website address. So if you guys are interested, you can't figure out how to contact me through my website, then you have much more serious problems than running a startup. Okay guys, that was my last slide. Any questions?
Yeah, so my name is Bhavin Desai. I'm the founder of a new app called Women. And my question is very simple. When angel investors or any investor for that matter is looking at a startup company, when it comes to founders, do they have any prejudices against a single founder or a team of founders? Is it there is a preference or is it very personal?
I think the reality is we all have prejudices. I'm sure you have prejudices. You may want a tall girlfriend, you may want, I don't know. All I'm trying to say is we may explicitly acknowledge those prejudices or not, but they're there. They're the elephant in the room. So if you come across them, it doesn't matter. Like I said, rules are designed to be bent. So that's the elephant in the room, and if you think people are saying no to you because you're a single founder, we have invested in single founders, but they have to give us a good reason why they have. And that doesn't mean that the single founder will not find a co-founder 1 year down the road. So none of these things are black or white areas. They really are. So we have prejudices, but just because you have 3 co-founders doesn't mean we'll say yes. And just because you have 1 doesn't mean we'll say no. I don't know.
Hi everyone, I'm Saki, owner of Rolex Capital. Thank you so much sir for such a great talk. And in one of your slides sir, you shared the process from idea to execution, funding from customers. Suppose if someone has done almost 70% of the timeline, what's the next steps that one should do? Almost the first batch, first execution prototype has been ready. Now what's the customers? There are already been customers for the first prototype, and two of the customers have already funded the startup for the initial round. What's the next step that one should do?
So I think that really depends on what you want to do. Where are you stuck? A lot of people say this is great. I'm happy to continue growing linearly. I'm in no rush. I have the rest of my life ahead of me. So I don't want to really raise money from anyone else. All I'm trying to say is just because you're running a startup doesn't automatically mean that you need to get funding from investors or VCs. So whatever track you choose for yourself is fine. It will take longer, and obviously my limited point is there is an advantage and disadvantage for everything in life. there is a trade-off. The trade-off for taking money from investors is that you are answerable to someone else whose incentives may not be aligned with yours, which will cause heartburn and grief. Whereas if you have all the equity and you're getting money from other people because they believe in you and you'd rather retain that control and you're not in a rush to, create the next unicorn, I think that's absolutely fine. It's a trade-off which you need to do. We can't make it. So we have to be able to explain these are the pros, these are the cons, and this is why I think this is the right time for me to be taking what the next step is. What that next step is about.
Hello sir, my name is Sameer. Hi everyone. I have a startup with the name Renovation Private Limited. So sir, my question to you is basically on the basis of how much does an investor see the risk factor taking capacity in the individual who's asking for a certain fund for his future projects that he wants the investor to invest in. That's one question. One more small question. Most of the time that when I go into meets and I'm even seeing the shows or even in the internet, most of the times the investor the SME that normally looks in for an investment uses this on the evaluation perspective. When the valuation that he is valuating his company actually goes for a toss. So how does he actually
Sure. So I think two questions separate here. One is about risk and how do we evaluate risk. And I think people keep on talking about entrepreneurs are willing to take risks, they're so passionate, they're willing to follow their dreams, and angel investors are willing to back all these risky enterprises, and so are VCs. That's just not true. We take risks, but we take intelligent risks. We want a risk where the risk curve is in our favor, which means there's an upside, and we've got to be convinced that the upside is far more than the downside. So we understand that a lot of these will fail, but we need to make sure that the risk for failure is controlled, it's manageable. So this is the reason why we don't put all our money in one startup, because you can't predict what the future is. The future is unknowable, unpredictable, no matter what it is. So of course we're going to take calculated risks. If you can explain to us, you understand your risks, this is what you've done to reduce your risks, and we think you're capable, but it's a leap of faith, let's be honest. Whatever else I do, I can't really be able to make that risk. And I'm a big boy. Like everyone else has a risk-reward ratio, and we are willing to accept that risk. That's very important. Valuation. I think again, I don't think there's any easy answer to that, because there is no science like valuation. There is no magic number. There is no number which I would say, okay, this is the right valuation for this particular company. As with everything else, it's a negotiation. If you think that the investor adds value, and you think his valuation is right, take it. If you think he's not adding any value, then go. We have lots of people who come to us where we've offered a valuation, we've explained why, they've counter-offered. We say, fine, explain to us why your justification is there. If we're convinced, we're happy to be able to listen to it. Because ultimately, it's not a one-off relationship. This is a guy who's going to have a relationship for 10 years. So I need to respect him, he needs to respect me. I don't want to nickel and dime him about a small bit. If it's like a 10x difference or a 50% difference, then I think it's a bit of a problem. How well to negotiate this tells me a lot. All these are valuable signaling mechanisms. And typically we tell people, fine, you don't want our money, don't take it. And then go out in the market. If there's someone else who's willing to give you a better deal, what is special about my money? Nothing. Take the money from that guy, good for you. And if on the other hand you don't find anything, then maybe you'll respect my money a little more and come back.
But as a person to take the to ask for a specific investment, how should I evaluate my particular company?
Read the book. Sorry, kidding apart. So there are ways, like I said, people will use BCFs, people use whatever. The standard way, the rule of thumb is to use what is called comparables. What does a comparable mean? That means this is another company in the same field, same level of development. How much do they guys? The big problem with Indian entrepreneurs is they use Silicon Valley valuations in order to raise money in India. And I hate it when people ask for millions of dollars. What the पैसे खर्च करता हूँ 100 रुपये 500 देता हूँ क्या तो millions of dollars? Tell me 50 lakhs or 60 lakhs or whatever. That's just my pet peeve. But the point is you cannot translate that. Because the cost of capital in Silicon Valley is very cheap. The cost of capital in India is much more expensive. The reality is, the valuation is what someone is willing to give. There is no other answer. And it's like the golden rule. The guy who has the gold sets the rule. May not be very fair, but that's the reality. So you might be willing to do it at first, and over time get smarter and say, okay, fine, I've learned a lot more. That's why there's a right time to raise the money. If you raise your money prematurely, you will be forced to give a lot of your company away. So you might want to say, okay, let's get to the next stage and then.
Hi all, my name is Deepak Maria. We are into uniform business. So we are into uniform business. I just wanted to ask one thing, like all the venture capitalists and the angel investors are in the technology companies. So do they invest in the traditional or the conventional business also, like in the uniform business and all?
Okay, the question is here, do we only invest in tech businesses or traditional businesses? At some point, we want to invest in a business which is going to give us a return. And if the entrepreneur can tell us what that return is going to be, we're happy to invest. Typically, these kind of traditional businesses are hard to scale up enough for a VC to be interested, quite frankly. Because VCs are looking for outsized returns because they know that out of the 10 companies they fund, 9 are going to grow belly up, but the one which does well will compensate for all the rest. Angels are different. So if an angel is someone who trusts you, maybe different. There is something called revenue-based finance. You might want to read a little bit about that. What that means is you're profitable, you have a steady cash flow, you want more money to be able to grow that a little bit faster, but you can give enough of that money back to the investor so he makes an internal rate of return which is better than what you will get in another asset class. Trade-off of the risk, you might be willing to. Ultimately, you're selling yourself. It's up to you to be able to sell yourself in such a way that you meet the investors.
Good afternoon. My name is Sunny. I have a small business called Easy Meals. I have a question. It's not really the funding per se. Basically, when you start, it starts with idea. Idea, before you take that step of it, you would like to test the idea. Okay, so go and talk to people, explain them about the idea, take their feedback, whether it's workable, it's not workable, whether they see value in the idea or not. When the feedback is positive, you take the leap of it. So. But despite of that, after starting, it doesn't work. What would you say?
That's a great point. And the trouble is two things. One is, who do you ask for feedback about your idea? Your mom, right? Yeah, beta itna hoshiyar hai. Of course, there's actually a book called The Mom Test. Please read the book. It's a great book. Because the trouble is you're asking the wrong people for what they will do, number one. And it's useless asking people because people don't want to hurt your feelings. Hey, yaar, bacha hai, entrepreneur hai, great idea. So if someone's going to ask me and say, wow, yaar, great idea. That means what you're really not interested in what people say, you're interested in what people do. So if people are willing to give you money, then I think it's worthwhile. So then you need to create some kind of a dummy. It could just be a website, for example, where you say, are you interested in this? Are you willing to pay me for this? Just talking to people and asking them whether it's a good idea, the answer is always going to be yes, because people don't want to be cynical. They want to be strenuous. We want to be supportive about someone's idea. Because मेरा क्या जाता है support करने? हाँ यार अच्छी idea है, but that's not just one. So don't get misled by so-called market surveys. The ultimate proof is this summer. Okay, so what you need to do is, can you think of clever, inexpensive ways of creating something where you can actually go out to prospective customers and say, would you be interested in this? So I don't know whether you're aware of this, but when we started off, we would actually carry a very wooden box in his pocket all the time, thinking about if people wanted to use an iPad, what would they use it for? That was the so there are multiple ways of answering. You don't need to take that leap of faith, but you want to reduce your risk. Yeah, but did they give you money? Everyone will say yes. No, that's exactly what I'm trying to say. मुझे भी कुछ अच्छी idea. Will he actually give you money? That's the test. Until you have someone who's actually giving you money, take everything they say with a large pinch of salt.
Good afternoon. I'm Raj Patel, founder of Mohit, which is a coaching academy for IIT JEE and based in Kolhapur. So my question to you is, for startups which are based on products which are more capital intensive as compared to normal tech products, what would be your advice as to how to raise funds and what would be the right approach to go about it?
So again, I think this is a common problem, and sometimes investors are not the right one. And typically you're better off looking for grants, and the government has lots of these projects if they have a social impact or social good. We look for alternative ways of being able to raise that capital. Often investors are not right. But then you need to ask yourself, if it's really so capital intensive, what gives me the right to get in that space? You may, for example, want to go to a large company, you may be interested in them, sell your idea to them, say you would be willing to invest in this because this is what the future is. See, one thing is for sure, the larger the amount of money you want to raise, the harder it is going to be. So then the question you want to ask yourself is there something which I can do which doesn't require such a large capital investment so I can move? I will be able to find many customers for a little bit at a time and then actually scale up. You know, entrepreneurs take pride in being creative and innovative. You need to be able to think of clever ways of creating inexpensive prototypes. That's equally important.
Sir, that was really a good and great university. So much of time for us. Thank you so much. Standing round of applause to Dr. Malpani, please.